My dear, before you do anything else, listen carefully. This message did not appear in your life by accident. There is a reason your heart felt drawn here today. Somewhere, someone has been carrying a burden that has become too heavy to hide. Your soulmate has spent countless nights replaying old memories, wishing they could rewrite one moment that changed everything between you. Don't skip. Because every word you are about to hear reveals a truth that has remained hidden for far too long. Listen carefully. Your soulmate's biggest regret was never falling in love with you. Their greatest regret was believing that time would always give them another chance. They truly believed there would always be one more tomorrow, one more conversation, one more opportunity to explain what really happened. But life has a way of changing without warning. Days became weeks, weeks became months, and silence slowly replaced the words they desperately wanted to say. Every sunrise reminded them of what they had lost, and every sunset whispered the same painful question: what if I had spoken sooner? Deep inside their heart, they have carried a message they never had the courage to deliver. It wasn't because they stopped caring. It wasn't because you were forgotten. It was because fear became louder than love. They feared rejection. They feared arriving too late. They feared that after everything that happened, you would never believe the truth. So instead of speaking, they remained silent. And that silence became the greatest mistake of their life. There were moments when your soulmate almost reached out. They typed messages they never sent. They stared at your name, wondering if one simple hello could change everything. Their hands trembled as memories flooded back, the laughter you shared, the dreams you built together, and the future they secretly imagined with you. But every time they were ready to press send, doubt whispered that it was already too late. Don't skip. Because the next part of this story reveals the one secret your soulmate has hidden from everyone around them. One ordinary day, something unexpected happened. A familiar song, an old photograph, a passing conversation, or even a place they once visited with you suddenly brought every forgotten emotion rushing back. In that single moment, they realized they had never truly moved on. No matter how hard they tried to convince themselves otherwise, a part of their heart had remained with you all along. And that realization became impossible to ignore. Every day after that realization, your soulmate began noticing something they had ignored for far too long. It felt as though life itself kept placing reminders of you in front of them. A familiar smile on a stranger's face, a certain fragrance in the air, a street they hadn't walked in years, even the quiet silence before falling asleep, all of it somehow led their thoughts back to you. The more they tried to push those memories away, the stronger they returned. They finally understood that some connections cannot be erased simply by pretending they never existed. Don't skip. Because this is where their greatest regret became impossible to hide. For a long time, they convinced everyone around them that they were doing just fine. They smiled during conversations, laughed at family gatherings, and continued living as though nothing was missing. But behind every smile was a question that never stopped echoing inside their heart: what if I had chosen love instead of fear? That single question followed them everywhere. No achievement, no distraction, and no new beginning was ever able to silence it. There were nights when sleep refused to come. They would lie awake staring into the darkness, replaying every conversation they ever had with you. They remembered the little details they once overlooked, the kindness in your words, the patience you showed, the way you believed in them even when they doubted themselves. Only after losing your presence did they truly understand how rare it was. They realized that some people enter your life only once, and if you let them go because of pride or hesitation, the emptiness they leave behind can never be completely filled. One evening, while sorting through old belongings, your soulmate came across something they had forgotten existed. It could have been an old photograph, a handwritten note, a meaningful gift, or a tiny keepsake that carried your memory. The moment they held it in their hands, every wall they had built around their emotions came crashing down. They didn't just remember you, they remembered the person they used to be when you were part of their life. That realization hurt more than they could have imagined. At that very moment, they made a quiet promise to themselves. They would no longer keep running from the truth. Even if the road ahead was uncertain, even if they feared rejection, they knew they could not spend the rest of their life wondering what might have happened if they had simply been honest. Somewhere deep inside, they believed the message they had hidden for so long deserved to be heard before time stole the opportunity forever. But just as they gathered the courage to finally reveal everything, someone unexpected stepped into the story, carrying a secret that could change the meaning of every regret your soulmate had been holding until now. Don't skip. That unexpected person did not arrive by coincidence. They carried a truth your soulmate had never heard before, a truth that had remained buried beneath years of silence, misunderstandings, and assumptions. The moment they began speaking, your soulmate felt their heart pounding harder than ever before. Every sentence seemed to pull apart a story they had believed for so long. They realized that not everything they had accepted as reality had actually been true. The stranger quietly explained that there had been moments when you had tried to reach out, moments when circumstances had hidden your intentions, and moments when words meant for each other had somehow never found their destination. Your soulmate stood there in complete disbelief. They began asking question after question, hoping there had been some mistake. But with every answer, another piece of the puzzle finally fell into place. The regret they had been carrying suddenly became even heavier, because they understood that the distance between you had not been created by a lack of love. It had been created by silence and timing. Don't skip. Because what happened next became impossible for your soulmate to ignore. For the first time in a very long while, they stopped blaming fate. Instead, they looked back at every decision they had made. They remembered the times they chose pride over honesty, hesitation over courage, and fear over faith. They wished they could travel back to that single moment when everything first began to fall apart. If they had known then what they knew now, they would have fought much harder to protect what the two of you shared. That evening, they sat alone with a blank page in front of them. They decided that if they could not change the past, they could at least tell the truth they had hidden for so many years. Slowly, They began writing every emotion they had buried deep inside their heart. They admitted the mistakes they had made. They confessed the tears no one had ever seen. They described how every important milestone in life felt incomplete because your absence could never truly be replaced. As the letter grew longer, something remarkable happened. The weight they had carried for so long began to lift, not because the pain disappeared, but because the truth was finally finding its voice. They knew that whether the letter reached you or not, they could no longer allow fear to control their heart. This message had become more than an apology, it had become the final chance to say everything that should have been said long ago. Just as they folded the letter and prepared to send it, their phone suddenly rang. The caller spoke only a few words before hanging up, but those words changed everything. If you really want another chance, you need to know what happened to them yesterday. Your soulmate froze in complete silence. The letter slipped from their hands, and in that instant, they realized the biggest regret of their life might not be the only truth waiting to be revealed. Don't skip. The room fell completely silent after the call ended. Your soulmate stared at the phone, hoping it would ring again, but the screen remained dark. Those few mysterious words echoed over and over inside their mind. You need to know what happened to them yesterday. Every possibility rushed through their thoughts at once. Their heart filled with questions they could no longer ignore. Had something unexpected happened? Had someone finally revealed the truth? Or had fate decided that another chance was slipping away once again? Don't skip. Because from this moment forward, every decision carried a consequence. Without wasting another minute, your soulmate gathered the unfinished letter, slipped it carefully into an envelope, and left everything behind. Nothing else mattered anymore, not work, not plans, not the opinions of others. For the first time in years, they were no longer running from the past. They were running toward the one person they had never truly stopped loving. As they traveled, memories followed them like shadows. They remembered the promises they once whispered, the dreams they imagined together, and the quiet hope that somehow, somewhere, life would bring your paths together again. Each memory made one thing painfully clear: their greatest regret had never been losing time, it had been allowing fear to steal the moments that mattered most. Halfway through the journey, they stopped at a quiet place where the two of you had once shared an unforgettable conversation. Everything looked almost the same, yet everything felt different. Standing there, they closed their eyes and whispered words they wished they had spoken years ago. If I had been brave enough, none of this would have happened. If I had trusted my heart instead of my fears, maybe we would have been standing here together today. At that very moment, a gentle breeze carried the envelope from their hands. They quickly picked it up, but something inside had slipped out. It was a small photograph they hadn't realized was tucked inside the letter. Looking at it, tears filled their eyes. On the back of the photo, written in faded handwriting, were words they had completely forgotten. True love doesn't disappear. It waits for the truth. Those words shook them to the core. It felt less like a memory and more like a sign that they had one final opportunity to make things right. They carefully placed the photograph back into the envelope and continued moving forward with a determination they had never felt before. But when they finally reached the place where they believed they would find you, they discovered something completely unexpected waiting at the entrance. A sealed envelope with your name written across the front had been left there for them. As they slowly opened it, the very first sentence made their hands tremble. If you're reading this, then you've finally discovered the truth I tried to protect all along. Don't skip. Because what was written inside that letter was about to reveal the one secret that could change both of your lives forever. The moment your soulmate unfolded the letter, their hands would not stop shaking. They took a slow breath, trying to prepare themselves for whatever truth had been hidden inside. Every heartbeat felt louder than the last. The world around them seemed to disappear as their eyes focused on the very first lines. It was not a message filled with anger. It was not a message filled with blame. It was something far more powerful, a truth that had waited patiently for the right moment to be understood. Don't skip. Because this was the confession your soulmate never expected to read. The letter began by explaining that not every goodbye happens because love fades away. Sometimes goodbyes are created by fear, by misunderstandings, by the words that remain unspoken, and by the people who believe they are protecting everyone when, in reality, they are only creating more pain. As your soulmate continued reading, they realized that several moments they had always blamed on you had never been your choice at all. Circumstances beyond your control had quietly rewritten the story before either of you even knew what was happening. Each sentence felt like another piece of a locked door finally opening. They remembered conversations that had suddenly ended without explanation. They remembered promises that seemed to disappear overnight. For years, they had believed those moments meant you no longer cared. But the letter revealed something completely different. There had been obstacles no one had spoken about. There had been sacrifices made in silence. There had been tears shed where no one else could see them. With every paragraph, the regret inside your soulmate grew deeper. They realized that while they had spent years mourning what they had lost, you had been carrying your own silent burden all along. Neither of you had stopped caring. Neither of you had truly forgotten. You had simply been separated by truths that were hidden until now. Your soulmate lowered the letter for a moment and closed their eyes. Memories they had tried so hard to bury returned with incredible clarity. They remembered the last meaningful conversation, the last smile, the last promise, and the final look before everything changed. Suddenly, those memories no longer felt like endings. They felt like unfinished chapters waiting for one last chance to be completed. Just as they prepared to continue reading, a folded page slipped from inside the envelope. It was smaller than the others and looked much older, as though it had been written years before. Across the top, in careful handwriting, were just a few words. Please don't let them read this. Unless they are finally ready to know who kept us apart. Your soulmate froze. Their heart pounded louder than ever before. They knew that unfolding this final page would reveal the name they had searched for through years of confusion, heartbreak, and regret. Slowly, they reached for the edge of the paper. Don't skip. Because the next page would expose the hidden person whose secret decision changed both of your lives forever. My child, the final truth has been waiting for this very moment. Your soulmate slowly unfolded the last page, expecting to see a name that would answer every question they had carried for years. Instead, they found a simple sentence that changed everything. The greatest enemy of your love was never another person. It was the silence that grew between two hearts that still loved each other. Tears filled your soulmate's eyes as they realized how many precious years had been lost because neither of you knew the complete truth. Every regret, every sleepless night, and every unanswered question suddenly made sense. They understood that love had never disappeared. It had only been buried beneath fear, misunderstandings, and unspoken emotions. Without wasting another second, your soulmate held the letter close to their heart and whispered your name one final time. They made a promise they would never allow fear to steal another opportunity. Whether the road ahead was easy or difficult, they would finally speak the truth they had hidden for so long. Because real love deserves honesty before time runs out. As the sun began to rise, your soulmate took their very first step toward a new beginning. The burden they had carried for years slowly faded with every step. Their biggest regret was no longer staying silent. Their greatest hope was that forgiveness could still create a future. And if destiny truly brings two hearts together at the right moment, then perhaps this message reached you today for a reason. Perhaps this was never the end of your story. Perhaps this was only the beginning of the chapter both of you had been waiting for. Remember this. The deepest regrets often become the strongest reasons to choose love before it's too late. Don't skip. Because sometimes one message can change an entire lifetime.